What do you do when your pasta has finally reached al dente perfection? If your answer is to drain it in the sink, you're making a significant culinary mistake. That murky, starchy water known as liquid gold by many chefs still has a job to do.
Pasta water, it is so important.
Pasta water is the perfect emulsifier and thickener for making a spectacular, silky sauce. How many times have you plated a beautiful serving of pasta only to end up with a red, watery pool on the outside of your plate? That watery mess is what happens when the water in your pasta separates from the oil in your sauce, and an emulsifier stops that from happening. So how are you supposed to remove your cooked pasta from the water without wasting a single drop? It's easier than you might think. To start, use just enough water to cover your pasta and make sure to stir it frequently as it cooks to keep it from sticking together. If you're cooking your sauce while simultaneously cooking your pasta, it's easy enough to scoop out a few tablespoons at a time of the starchy water and stir it into your sauce. It'll thin out at first, but don't panic. It will thicken back up like magic as the starch is absorbed. But that perfect pot of sauce doesn't mean you should dump the rest of your liquid gold down the drain.
Do not dump out the pasta water. The pasta water is so important.
Either cook your pasta in a pot with a built-in strainer or remove the pasta from the water using tongs or a pasta fork. If you'd rather use a colander, place it over your large pot first. That way your pasta water avoids the drain. Once you've salvaged all that starchy water and let it cool, save it and freeze it in small batches using an ice cube tray. You can add it to gravy, soups, stews, future sauces, and anything else that needs a little more emulsification. And one more tip for pasta night perfection. Don't rinse your pasta once you've removed it from the water. The starch on the surface of the noodles works in the same way as the starch you've added to the sauce. It helps the sauce stick to the pasta. If you rinse your pasta, you're rinsing away that helpful starch and erasing all the effort you've made just to harmonize your plate.
What do you think?
Oh, hello.
Fermented anchovies, salt from a Sicilian sea, and just how much butter? Here's what it takes to get restaurant-quality pasta in the comfort of your own kitchen. Sauce is the soul. Sadly, the caliber of ingredients used by chefs in restaurants can be difficult to secure at grocery stores. Three-time World Pizza Champion chef Laura Meyer of Berkeley's Pizzeria De Laura said, "Restaurant sauces aren't difficult to recreate at home in the sense that the equipment is generally the same, but access to specific ingredients can be harder. Some restaurants work directly with farmers to grow specific herbs and produce that are not native to certain areas, giving them access to broader flavor profiles. Staples like tomatoes, cheese, olive oil, and flour pale in comparison when sourced at grocery stores, as they're often geared towards shelf stability and consistency rather than freshness, resulting in muted flavors in home-cooked meals." However, the Taylor Son chef Nick Polone shared, "By and large, the ingredients that are available to chefs are available to the general public. Knowing how to source them, or what to source for that matter, is the problem." As an example, he cites the ingredient colatura, which is made by fermenting anchovies in chestnut barrels for 3 years. This ingredient can amplify the flavor of a sauce, but without knowledge or access to it, a home cook would be hard-pressed to replicate it. Vice President of Food and Beverage for Tavistock Restaurant Collection, Michael Ferraro, agreed with Polone too. He shared that high-quality ingredients are available in grocery stores, but people opt for the affordable option rather than investing in specialty items. For Ferraro, the key to mastering restaurant-quality pasta at home is relying on a commonly wasted byproduct, the starchy water from boiling pasta. He added, "Pasta water is your friend. I don't think that home cooks know that." He further explained that the water used to cook pasta seasons not just the pasta, but the sauce itself, imparting essential salt and starch for the optimal texture and flavor in the finished dish. As for how much to use, that all depends on the type of sauce you seek. He said, "With many pan sauces, even if it's just an olive oil and garlic pasta, your sauce essentially is your pasta water. In any case, it's likely you'll need more of this water than most home cooks would think, whether the sauce derives from the pasta water itself, so something like a cacio e pepe, or it's just to adjust a seafood pasta, a marinara, whatever it is, we're using pasta water." While starchy cooking water may finish a sauce, the sauce finishes a pasta dish, at least in professional restaurant kitchens. Fermento's executive chef, Don Walker, explained, "When the pasta comes out of the water, all of those gluten strains are looking for a protein to grab a hold of, making it the perfect time to mix it with the sauce. You always want to cook/toss the pasta with the sauce before plating, as it will adhere to all of those flavors you work to achieve." Meyer agreed, with a caveat. She said, "It's important to cook the pasta in the sauce for a short period. Pasta doesn't need to cook for a long period within the sauce, but you are looking for the pasta to absorb some of the sauce before it reaches a diner. If the pasta is overcooked, it won't absorb the sauce, and if it hasn't had time to meld, it tastes like two separate elements." Polone agreed, stating, finishing cooking the pasta in the sauce is essential. The starch from the pasta, when added to the sauce in a pan, will thicken and help bind the sauce to the pasta.
Oh my god, Nona's sauce smells so good.
Pasta water isn't the only base ingredient that restaurants add to their sauces. According to Ferraro, the basis for sauces are hard-won flavor bombs that take effort and planning to perfect. He explained, building flavor is an important thing, and it takes time. You can make a marinara sauce in 30 minutes, or you can make it in 6 hours. Often, a restaurant will opt for the latter. Poloni added, time is usually an issue when cooking at home, which by nature speeds the process up and, in doing so, makes for an underdeveloped sauce. But by taking the time to develop the complex aromatic layers chefs seek in professional kitchens, there's no reason a home cook shouldn't be able to glean those same flavors. While in many cases, aromatic vegetables like onion, garlic, celery, or carrot make the sauce, Ferraro believes long-simmering sauces should start with bones. He suggested to roast your bones and noted that for the best flavor, chefs opt for sometimes pricey but totally worthwhile marrow bones. These bones are slow roasted to develop a deep, caramelized flavor. Adding these bones to the sauce and letting them simmer will result in a mixture that may be time-consuming but will have a far more developed flavor. Walker echoed, food is food. It's all about taking the time and care on preparing items to how you see fit. While you might be watching butter, oil, or cheese at home, restaurants don't skimp out on these delicious and flavorful ingredients. Meyer shared, restaurants are using full-fat everything. That is a big component to flavor, and using high-fat contents and full-fat ingredients is going to punch up the flavor of any dish. Walker agreed, noting, adding butter really helps bring out that flavor you may be missing at home. But it's not just a question of adding gobs of fat to a sauce willy-nilly. Ferraro explained that there's a method to the madness. He begins his sauces with extra virgin olive oil and only adds butter right at the end to unite a finished sauce, cooked pasta, and cooking water. He said, bring that up to a full simmer or boil, saute it a bit, incorporate those flavors, and then add, depending on the portion size, 1 to 2 tablespoons of good quality butter. At that point, reduce the heat down to very, very low, and you're basically now just mounting your sauce with butter.
Nobody loves Alfredo quite like we do.
It's no surprise that pasta and cheese are the perfect pairing, but in many cases, cheese shouldn't just be a topping for pasta, but rather an ingredient in the sauce. According to Ferraro, adding cheese along with the butter allows the cheese to emulsify into the dish and coat each pasta strand. He cautioned, at this point, your flame is essentially low to off. Adding cheese over high heat can cause the sauce to break and turn greasy or gritty. He added, you're only mounting and emulsifying this dairy product into your sauce to create a mouthfeel, a texture, a creaminess, a flavor. Yes, Ferraro notes that it's a small detail, but it enters into a bigger philosophy that chefs adhere to when creating any dish. He added, most restaurants that are cooking at a certain level go through the process of building flavors. By taking the time to coax out the best of each addition, the resulting pasta dish will be even more layered and nuanced. In addition to butter and cheese, one ingredient restaurant chefs typically won't scrimp on is salt. One 2017 study found that 80% of our average sodium consumption comes from meals prepared by pros. The average sodium content of a single restaurant menu item comes in at more than half of the daily recommended limit. Walker noted, saltiness is in the eye of the beholder. I personally like my food well seasoned. Of course, we're not suggesting that you up your seasoning so much as to render your home-cooked meals unhealthy, but the reality is that salt makes the flavors pop. Consider doing as chefs do and invest in a top-quality finishing salt, like mineral-rich pink Himalayan or Poloni's favorite, Trapani. He said, it's some of the best salt from the Sicilian Sea. It's inexpensive and still great to finish dishes with.
The sauce, the food, it's incredible.
Despite what some of these tips might imply, bigger isn't always better when it comes to pasta sauces. According to Walker, a truly delicious pasta sauce is often an exercise in simplicity. He explained, great sauces contain only a few ingredients. When you start crowding the box with too much, it can overwhelm the taste buds, and the main flavors get lost in the mix. Mastering this balance is mostly a question of practice and expertise gleaned over years of experience. Rather than adding extra ingredients and seasonings, Poloni touted the virtues of small adjustments that can make a huge difference, saying, sometimes overlooked and not thought about is the little things. The hotter the pan, the more vigorously you will have to work, but the heat will aid in the emulsification of the sauce. Agitating the pasta, specifically a longer noodle with a spoon, will aid in that noodle releasing starch, and ergo make it easier for the sauce to adhere to the noodle. While home cooks don't have the benefit of a chef over their shoulder telling them what to do, with enough experimentation, these techniques will come naturally. Poloni suggested, adjust and play around with the recipe. There is no hard and fast way to do anything. It is about knowing the basis and evolving. We eat with our eyes first, a fact of which chefs are well aware. Walker stated, "A sloppy mess on a plate isn't the most appealing. Making sure to dress your dish will always be better received." Meyer takes this a step further, noting the visual element of dining is almost just as important as the flavor of the dish. If the dish is presented in an odd way or it is visually deceiving, it can trick the mind into thinking that it's going to taste bad. But this isn't just a question of aesthetics, she asserted. Plating can completely change a dish. If the plate is too flat and the pasta is meant to be sitting in a broth, this can completely change the way the dish is tasted by the diner. If bad plating can ruin a dish, great plating can catapult an otherwise humble pasta to new heights. Ferraro recalled a homemade dish he made with ingredients cousins brought him from Italy, a combination of simple dried pasta, Italian tomato sauce, Calabrian chili, oregano, and fresh basil. He recalled, "I plated this up just for me. I was home alone." Noting that he posted a photo of the dish on Instagram, he added, "People were like, 'Oh my god, where are you? That looks so great.' I was like, I literally just made this at home right now, and I'm about to watch Netflix." We certainly can't speak for all restaurant chefs, but in any kitchen making its own sauce from scratch, you won't find any of the preservatives or stabilizers used in many shelf-stable pasta sauces. Less than palatable additives to store-bought sauces may include cheaper oils like canola oil, which boasts way less flavor than the extra virgin olive oil Ferraro prefers, or added sugar, which serves to balance the acidity of less than stellar tomatoes. But in addition to underwhelming flavor, store-bought sauces can also contain gums like xanthan gum or preservatives like sodium phosphate and potassium metabisulfite. Xanthan gum, which is a common additive to gluten-free products to add texture and structure, isn't harmful per se, but it has been shown to lead to digestive problems for some. Sodium phosphate, while generally recognized as safe by the FDA, has nevertheless been linked to elevated mortality rates, particularly for those who already have kidney or cardiovascular diseases or issues. And one recent study in lab rats showed that even in small amounts, potassium metabisulfite can be toxic, producing excessive free radicals, which can lead to illness, premature aging, or even cancer. Is consuming a store-bought pasta sauce a death sentence? No, of course not. But if you want the freshest flavors and the healthiest ingredients, it's best to do as chefs do and make your sauce from scratch.
Of all the pantry staples, pasta just might top the list when it comes to convenience, availability, price, and overall yumminess. Good quality pasta can be found in a variety of specialty stores and virtually every supermarket. And it's not very expensive compared to other ingredients. There are also a ton of different pasta recipes, from creamy avocado and bacon pasta, to spicy ramen, to chicken noodle soup, to peanutty soba. This endlessly versatile starch shows up in kitchens across the world, being whipped up into meals that are filling and delicious. Usually when people cook up a pot of pasta, leftovers are nowhere to be found. But on the occasion you do find yourself with some cold spaghetti, it can be repurposed into a frittata, or stuffed between layers of bread, or just reheated and enjoyed.
You like sugar, huh?
Is there sugar in syrup?
Yes.
Then yes!
And when you've really got an excess of leftover pasta, or perhaps just trying to meal prep by making some in advance, you can seal it up tight and store it in the fridge. Sometimes, though, it can be hard to tell if refrigerated pasta is still good to eat. And what about fresh pasta or uncooked dry pasta in the pantry? Is there an easy way to tell if those varieties are past their prime? Luckily for you carb lovers, there are a few signs of spoiled pasta that should have you reaching for the compost. So you've put a ton of effort into cooking up a show-stopping pasta dish, only to find yourself with a bunch of leftovers. If rallying your dinner guests to find room for second or third helpings fails to work, you'll have to store the extra pasta in the fridge, where, delicious as it may be, it's prone to being forgotten as it gets lost among the cartons of milk and jars of condiments. Maybe you come across your leftovers a few days later and get to wondering, when exactly did I make this? And is it still safe to eat? When it comes to cooked pasta leftovers, they should be eaten within 3 to 5 days, according to Does It Go Bad? Anytime before that window, and you should be good. But after that, be on the alert for spoilage. Any signs that indicate mold, such as a bad smell, brown, black, or white specks, or fuzziness, is an immediate no-go. When cooking at home, most people use dried pasta, but have you ever picked up fresh pasta for dinner? If so, you'll be familiar with its tender texture. Fettuccine with Alfredo sauce comes to mind. While dried pasta is made with ground semolina flour and water, its fresh counterpart contains flour and eggs. Once made and cut into shapes, fresh pasta is dried only briefly before being packaged and sold. What's great about fresh pasta is that it's often locally made, but one possible downside is that you need to cook it fairly soon after purchasing, as it will not last long past its manufacture date. Fresh, uncooked pasta has a similar storage life to cooked pasta dishes, up to 3 days.
Puttanesca.
What did you call me?
It's pasta. Pasta puttanesca?
Where's the roast beef?
Be sure to check the best by date when purchasing, which will indicate how much longer it can hang out in the fridge. With the understanding that both cooked pasta leftovers and fresh uncooked pasta can grow moldy after just a few days, what about dried pasta? Many keep the food in the cupboard for months or even years, thinking it's non-perishable. Dried pasta is made with only water and flour, and then dried over the course of a few days. The good news is, the ingredient doesn't spoil and can be safely stored for a few years. However, one important thing to note, according to Bustle, is that dried pasta will taste best when eaten before its expiration date. Before cooking up an entire box of years-old dried pasta, you may want to boil a handful and see if it tastes okay before proceeding with your recipe. You can also look for excessively cracked and brittle pasta, which is an indicator that the product is probably no longer at its best.
Pasta is the perfect go-to dinner option. But when you're out of a key ingredient, there's an alternative pantry staple you can count on to save the day. Homemade pasta sauce is a delicious and rewarding endeavor, but it's also a lot of work for your average weeknight. Who really wants to stand over a hot stove to stir a simmering sauce after 8 to 10 hours on the clock? And while there are plenty of pre-made pasta sauces that'll do fine with a little doctoring up, what do you do if you're all out and the pasta's already boiling? Never fear, there's a quick fix for that problem. Canned soup can come to your rescue. Specifically, canned mushroom soup. Think about it. Mushroom soup is already well seasoned with plenty of garlic. It's velvety and buttery, just like you want any cream-based pasta sauce to be. And it goes perfectly with noodles. So why not give it a try the next time you're running short on sauce and time? It's as easy as opening the can and heating it up. You can even do it in the microwave by placing the soup in a microwave-safe bowl before heating. Pour it over some noodles, and there you have it. Of course, that's just the most basic way to throw a quick and effortless dinner together. There are plenty of other ingredients you can toss in to jazz it up, including beef, chicken, or a handful of frozen shrimp. Fresh or frozen mushrooms are a sensible pairing that will elevate the soup's intrinsic earthy flavors. If you have a bag of frozen vegetable medley, some baby spinach, or a can of peas, just warm it all up together in the microwave or in a pot on the stove. Toss in some shredded cheese or top with Parmesan if the mood strikes you. Really, you can do as little or as much as you want when it comes to this presentation. But less tends to be more when you're famished and in a hurry. Condensed cream of mushroom soup can be used as is. While it is a little thick and high in sodium, pasta sauce tends to have a comparable saltiness as well as a similar thickness. But you can add a little bit of pasta water or cream to thin it down and cut the salt if you prefer. If you're putting in other ingredients such as frozen vegetables, they will add a little bit of liquid as they defrost, so be careful not to cut it down too much should you decide to add water. And definitely don't use the same 1-to-1 ratio that is called for in preparing the cream of mushroom as a soup. The whole point of using canned mushroom soup in place of pasta sauce is to keep it simple, so try not to overthink it or worry too much about the outcome. It's pretty much guaranteed to be easy and delicious as is.
I'm just learning how to make pasta, Carmen.
Naturally, you can use other soups if you'd like, but you'll want to stick with condensed soups, as the ready-to-cook version will be too thin and watery to be used as a makeshift sauce. Some fun and tasty options include cream of broccoli and cream of onion soup. Either can be enhanced with some steamed or sautéed vegetables, along with any herbs or spices that grab your attention. What about regular tomato soup? The comfort food classic can certainly be used as a substitute for sauce, but you'll want to add a few ingredients to liven it up a bit. Consider some fresh or dried basil, garlic, onion powder, and maybe even a few shakes of an Italian spice blend. Instead of using a tiny bit of water to thin it down, use half and half or cream for a richer flavor. And definitely garnish with a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese if you have any on hand. Overall, there are plenty of options. Even if you're all out of canned mushroom soup, chances are you've got some kind of creamy condensed soup in your pantry that will be delicious over noodles. There's really no reason to skip out on pasta for dinner just because you don't have the usual sauce.
Celebrity chef Alex Guarnaschelli has some controversial advice on whether you should mix olive oil in your pasta water. So what's her take on the age-old question? Keep watching to find out. Alex Guarnaschelli is taking on a pasta cooking topic that keeps many of us awake at night. The Chopped Judge took to TikTok to answer a follower's question. And depending on your pasta cooking preferences, you might not like her answer. The question in the spotlight concerns whether you should add olive oil to boiling pasta water. Guarnaschelli acknowledged that the question is controversial, but that didn't stop her from wading into this slippery debate. The fan asked Guarnaschelli, "Should you put olive oil in boiling water when making pasta? My husband says yes." Ever gracious, Guarnaschelli answered the question in a TikTok video and captioned it, "Olive oil in your pasta water? Controversial. Here are my thoughts. What are yours?" While Guarnaschelli's answer may stir the pot, pun intended, her explanation might make you think twice about adding olive oil to that pot of boiling spaghetti. The cookbook author claims that olive oil doesn't belong in the boiling water with your pasta. She explains,
"The sauce won't stick to the pasta. Oil sticks to the pasta, and then the sauce slides off the pasta."
However, TikTok users were divided over that reasoning. That said, Team Guarnaschelli did manage to show up, with one fan responding, "She is absolutely right." Another user wrote, "Thank you, it has never made sense to me to add oil." But not everyone is in agreement, with another user claiming, "Absolutely does not affect how the sauce sticks. It does, however, help prevent boilovers." Perhaps the jury will be out forever on this topic, leaving it up to pasta lovers' preference. And we're okay with that. Back in 2019, Alex Guarnaschelli was joking with fellow Food Network chef Scott Conant on Twitter, but some of her followers weren't sure if she was joking. Conant had complimented Guarnaschelli on her Hamptons home and invited himself over to her house for lunch, to which she responded, "Great, I'll break the dry spaghetti in half and add olive oil to the water so it comes out better." One of her fans replied with, "Rinse after cooking for maximum flavor," but while some of her followers joined in the banter, it looks like others thought she was serious. One person tweeted, "I do that every time. Is that not the correct way to cook it?" Still, another person responded, "Well, I do add olive oil to the water to give a supple texture to the spaghetti, linguine, or whatever pasta is available." This prompted Guarnaschelli to tweet a clarification so there would be no ambiguity, writing, "This was a joke and what not to do. Let me be clear." Still not satisfied with Alex Guarnaschelli's suggestion not to add olive oil to your pasta water? We did a deep dive and stumbled upon some advice from Lydia Bastianich, an Emmy Award-winning public television host and cookbook author who also hails from an Italian background. Bastianich has said, "Do not, I repeat, do not add oil to your pasta cooking water." And that's an order. Smithsonian notes that olive oil can prevent pasta sauce from properly coating the pasta. Water and oil don't mix, so when you go to pour the water out, you've created an oil layer. This oil coats your pasta, preventing tomato-based sauces from clinging to the noodles. However, there's one more pasta faux pas that will affect whether the sauce sticks to it. Smithsonian cautions that if you want your sauce to stick, don't rinse your pasta after you drain it. The magazine turned to another celebrity chef for this rule, citing Giada De Laurentiis and her cookbook Everyday Pasta. As De Laurentiis writes, "The starch on the surface contributes flavor and helps the sauce adhere. If you put your cooked pasta under the faucet, those starches are washed down the drain. So just don't." Still, there's one thing you should put in your pasta water, and that's salt, which adds flavor.
Some things in the kitchen are worth taking the extra time to make from scratch, including cookies, bread, and mashed potatoes. It's this simple. Certain foods just taste better homemade. Homemade pasta sauce is another one of those foods that immediately comes to mind. Besides, when you've got a recipe you love, it usually merits the additional effort. In fact, as Eat This Not That puts it, those pasta sauces you'd find in a jar at the grocery store are often not as tasty or healthy. Some brands can be too sweet or too salty, or a combination of both. This is partly due to their sodium, sugar, and preservative content. However, sometimes there just isn't enough time to simmer tomatoes and measure the right amounts of seasoning needed to make fresh pasta sauce. In those instances, you may find yourself needing a good store-bought option that delivers the same delicious taste without any hassle. Rest assured, there's one brand of jarred pasta sauce that is hailed by many as the holy grail of store-bought tomato sauces. Everyone from anonymous Amazon reviewers to Ina Garten agrees. Rayo's marinara sauce means you never have to make homemade sauce again. The top U.S. review on Amazon for the 15.5-ounce jar of Rayo's marinara points to the sauce's ingredients list as the secret to its success, According to the Rayo's website, the marinara sauce contains tomatoes, olive oil, basil, onions, garlic, salt, black pepper, and oregano. Ina Garten says when it comes to pasta sauce, you can spend a whole day making homemade marinara sauce, or, as she recommends to Bon Appetit, you can purchase Rayo's marinara sauce. Garten calls the jarred pasta sauce, in a word, quote, fantastic. Not only is it a delicious time saver for quick dinners, but it's also versatile, as Garten notes that it's perfect for both pasta and lasagna. Bon Appetit is also a fan of Rayo's marinara, once devoting an entire article to the store-bought pasta sauce. According to the food magazine, in comparison to other popular brands, Rayo's sits on an entirely different plane. Per Bon Appetit, Rayo's earns the title of best pasta sauce because it is made from quality ingredients and has a distinct balanced flavor. The brand almost has a perfect 5-star rating on Amazon, with thousands of reviewers singing the pasta sauce's praises. Rayo's marinara sauce comes in various sizes according to the brand's website, with prices ranging from $5.99 for the 15.5-ounce jar to $9.99 for 32 ounces. The Canadian Costco product reviewer Cost Cuisine was happy to find Rayo's marinara at their local warehouse. Two 770-milliliter jars, which are 26 ounces each, cost $14.99 in Canadian dollars, or about $11.85 in U.S. currency. Per jar, that's less than Rayo's listed price for 15.5 ounces. Those reviewers who are hesitating over Rayo's relatively high price might want to look for it at Costco.
Just made my weekly run to Costco.
They gave Rayo's marinara a 10 out of 10 for both taste and nutrition. But does Rayo's deserve a high rating for nutritional value? How does the sauce stack up against a less expensive pantry staple such as ragu? Mashed ranked store-bought marinara sauce, and ragu placed 12th out of 18, far from the worst. At $5.59 for a 24-ounce jar at Walmart online, ragu is considerably cheaper. So, can a Rayo's customer at least say they're paying for a healthier product as well as a tastier one? Rayo's website says a half-cup serving of its marinara sauce has 100 calories, with 7 grams of fat, 420 milligrams of sodium, 4 grams of sugar, and no added sugar. The Ragu website gives the nutritional details for that brand's marinara: 80 calories, 2.5 grams of fat, 480 milligrams of sodium, and 7 grams of sugar. Ragu doesn't specify how much, but some of those 7 grams are added sugars, according to the sauce's ingredient list. Ragu also adds soybean oil in addition to olive oil, but Rayo's is clearly adding more oil to its sauce, given that brand's higher fat and calorie totals. This doesn't make Rayo's less healthy, however. Fat and calories aren't bad for you in moderation. In fact, the fat in olive oil is mostly the healthier monounsaturated kind, per Mayo Clinic. And when added to Rayo's marinara sauce, by all accounts, it sure tastes good.
Burgers, fries, and pad thai? Pasta might not be part of your go-to fast food order, but should it be? Piatta Italian Street Food brings Italian cuisine to American streets. Boasting over 40 locations sprinkled across 7 states, this chain is known for its signature piatta wraps. However, its pasta offerings can undoubtedly stir the pot. Its carbonara pasta is a mouth-watering mishmash of Parmesan Alfredo, bruschetta tomatoes, pancetta, and spinach. Feeling a bit fiery? The chain's diavolo pasta, laden with spicy diavolo sauce and bruschetta tomatoes, is bound to ignite your taste buds. The restaurant's create your own dish option is your pasta playground, where you can choose anything from grass-fed meatballs to calamari and hot peppers, which you can top with some slightly audacious ingredients like strawberries and glazed pecans. While Piatta's assembly line format is a godsend for those days when you're just too hankry to wait, being the Italian Chipotle, as some diners have called it, isn't as great as you might think. The efficient assembly line can make the dining experience feel a bit impersonal. Additionally, with such an extensive menu, the consistency of items can waver. You might love the carbonara one day, but find it less palatable on another day. Originating in Brooklyn in 1956, Sbarro is known today for its food court pizza slices. But it's not just pizza you can find at this chain. Sbarro is also known for its pasta, which the company claims is still made with the same love, tradition, and authenticity that its first chef brought to the table. This includes baked ziti, a luscious concoction of 3 cheeses and tangy tomato sauce. And if you crave something classic, spaghetti and meatballs is the epitome of comfort food. But when it comes to the pasta menu, Sbarro's is a little conservative. The options are scant, making repeat visits a tad monotonous for pasta fans. While much of the charm of Sbarro lies in its convenience, some argue that quality has taken a backseat. Bankruptcies and menu critiques aren't exactly the best for business. With over 700 locations in high-traffic areas like airports and college campuses, Sbarro ensures you're never too far from an Italian-American fix. While it might not win awards for gourmet excellence, it promises a steadfast and familiar taste. In today's ever-evolving culinary landscape, there's something undeniably comforting about that. Italian-American nostalgia fused with the convenience of fast food? That's Sbarro for you.
Please, my Pizza Hut order's here.
Just hearing the name Pizza Hut is enough to transport you back to childhood birthdays and weekend treats. But we're shifting the spotlight away from the restaurant's namesake pizza to focus on its pasta. Conceived in 1958 by 2 Wichita State University students, Pizza Hut has since cemented its status as a global pizza monarch. With an astonishing 19,034 outlets spanning the globe as of 2022, it's safe to say that this fast food titan has successfully established its doughy dominion far and wide. As for the pasta, you can dive into a sea of creamy, cheesy Alfredo sauce with tender grilled chicken and copious amounts of cheese. And then there's the restaurant's Italian meats pasta, made with sweet tomato sauce, zesty pepperoni, and hearty Italian sausage, all cozying up under a layer of molten cheese. And for those who like their pasta with a side of garden goodness, you have veggie sweet tomato sauce mingling with green peppers, onions, tomatoes, black olives, and oven-baked cheese. Don't forget to give a nod to Pizza Hut's breadsticks, which it so generously pairs with the pasta. Such a combination is simply unbeatable. Pizza Hut has a wide selection of menu items under its iconic red roof. Unfortunately, the chain is, first and foremost, a pizza joint. The pasta options are quite limited, especially when compared to its exhaustive pizza menu. While its tins of pasta may not have garnered as much fame as its pizzas, Pizza Hut's pasta is a dependable and fast choice. When one thinks of Chicago street food, Portillo's inevitably comes to mind, thanks in part to the unmistakable waft of freshly grilled hot dogs and, of course, its delectable pasta dishes. Portillo's began in 1963 as a humble hot dog stand in Villa Park, Illinois. Today, while its hot dogs remain a legendary fixture of the Chicago culinary scene, its pasta offerings are also commendable. Although it may be surprising for some diners to see pasta on Portillo's menu, give them a try. Its penne alla vodka is a creamy dream, with zesty tomato vodka sauce mingling with penne noodles. For those who like their pasta with a kick, the penne all'arrabbiata doesn't disappoint. It comes with spicy marinara, fragrant basil, and a generous sprinkle of Parmesan. For the traditionalists, classics like spaghetti and fettuccine alfredo will help ensure that everyone leaves feeling satisfied. All told, Portillo's offers a tasty fusion of classic Chicago street food and delectable Italian pasta. Plus, there's no denying that there's something nostalgic and heartwarming about the chain that makes it a true part of Chicago. But while its pasta range is delightful, it doesn't necessarily outshine the restaurant's signature dishes. And for those who are looking for a purely Italian-American dining experience, Portillo's more diverse menu might prove to be a bit distracting. When you spot the Domino's logo, you likely think of pizza, game nights, and family treats. But beyond its famed pies lies a noteworthy pasta selection. From its humble beginnings as a local restaurant in 1960 in Ypsilanti, Michigan, Domino's has evolved into a global sensation, but these days it's not just about the pizzas. From its pasta primavera, where fresh vegetables meet a luscious sauce, to its meaty Italian sausage marinara, you are promised a hearty experience with robust flavors at fast food prices. For those who are a little extra picky, or those who just want to unleash their inner chef, the build-your-own pasta option on its menu is your opportunity to shine. Not only that, but Domino's also guarantees made-to-order pasta, so there are no reheats, just fresh bowls of comfort. With its vast delivery network, Pasta Bliss is merely a phone call away. However, being a pizza-centric chain means its pasta sometimes feels like an afterthought. And while its delivery is quick, this might lead to inconsistencies in taste and appearance. Traditional pasta enthusiasts might yearn for deeper, more authentic flavors. In the grand scheme of fast food, Domino's has cemented its place as a go-to for quick, tasty meals. Its pasta offerings, while not as iconic as its pizzas, are slowly but surely making their mark. So the next time you're ordering a large pepperoni pizza, maybe give that pasta menu a second glance.
Watch out, Domino's.
Bridging the gap between fast food and gourmet, the Vapiano journey started in 2002 when the concept of blending fast, casual dining with high-quality ingredients and personalized dishes gained relatively instant acclaim. In 2023, the chain re-emerged in the US after closing down in 2020, amplifying its reputation as a sought-after dining destination. Its emphasis on fresh, handmade pasta ensures that whatever sauce you pick complements it excellently. Take the crema di funghi, where your favorite mushrooms and white wine are swirled into a creamy sauce. And of course, who can forget the carbonara salmone, a coastal spin on a classic dish with salmon and onions swimming in a creamy egg-based sauce. Vapiano's strength lies in its commitment to customization. It hands the reins over to the customer, helping ensure that every dish resonates. But while the customization and the upscale ambience of Vapiano are a big selling point, those who find themselves in a rush might feel that this restaurant is a tad slow. Still, Vapiano gracefully waltzes between the worlds of fast food and fine dining. It's less of a grab and go and more of a relax and savor kind of experience. Whether you're on a date, with family, or simply treating yourself, Vapiano promises an experience along with a satisfying meal. The tagline says it all: fast, fresh, Italian.
Real Italian, cooked good.
Fazoli's isn't just about dishing out pasta, though. It's also about serving memories. Headquartered in Kentucky with over 200 locations as of 2023, Fazoli's has woven itself into the fabric of American fast food dining. Veering away from more traditional Italian-American fare, Fazoli's embraces the best of American-Italian fusion. The chain's twice-baked lasagna is a testament to its commitment to comfort food. Meanwhile, its loaded fettuccine and loaded baked spaghetti will make you wish you saved more room. But the showstopper is the ultimate sampler. It's like a grand Italian opera on a plate, featuring fettuccine alfredo, penne with meat sauce, spaghetti and meatballs, and lasagna with meat sauce. It's a feast that screams go big or go home. By marrying classic Italian dishes with an American twist, Fazoli's has crafted a menu that resonates with a vast audience. The generous portions means you're leaving with a full belly and more for later. Its commitment to fast and fresh meals ensures you're getting quality without the agonizing wait. However, purists might argue that in a bid to Americanize, some authentic Italian flavors may get lost in translation. The emphasis on loaded dishes can be a tad heavy for those seeking lighter, more traditional pasta meals. From the streets of Tokyo to the picturesque rolling hills of Tuscany, Noodles & Company is your ticket to a flavor-packed world tour without leaving your city. Dive into this pasta-forward chain's menu, and you'll see that it's a global feast. The Asian noodles category pops with vibrant dishes like pad thai and spicy Korean beef noodles. Macaroni and cheese lovers are in for a treat with the array of macaroni-based dishes on the menu. Variety is this chain's ace in the hole. It serves almost everything, from spicy Asian meals to warm Western comforts. You can mix, match, and make just about every dish uniquely yours. With 468 U.S. locations as of 2023 and plenty of accolades, Noodles & Company truly stands apart from the competition. This chain isn't just about food. It's a celebration of flavors, cultures, and culinary excellence. Its commitment to quality, variety, and customer satisfaction is palpable, earning it the well-deserved top spot on this list.
Adding dry pasta to a dish in progress without boiling it first seems like a beginner cooking mistake, right? Not so fast. We're here to show you how one YouTube chef achieves delicious results by doing just that. Pasta is one of Italy's best-loved foods and an easy, delicious meal. While fresh pasta is delicious and indulgent, most people opt for dried pasta when it comes to everyday cooking. The traditional way is to cook your dried pasta in abundant, boiling salted water until it's al dente. In other words, ever so slightly undercooked. And then drain it. Add the cooked pasta to the sauce, possibly along with a bit of the water it's boiled in. Serve and enjoy. Easy, right? While fresh pasta barely needs boiling, it's obvious why you need to cook dry pasta. Before its water bath, it's hard and crunchy, making it more suitable for children's art projects, not for dinner.
See, the hard part is to find a pasta that captures the individual.
Yeah. Why Fusilli?
Because you're silly.
But one of the great advantages of pasta dishes is the opportunity to get a vegetable, protein, and carb source into one magical meal. What if you could avoid the extra pot for boiling your pasta in and cook your dried pasta in its sauce instead of adding it afterward? That would eliminate both an extra pot and the extra time for boiling the water and your pasta. The short answer? You can. Adam Ragusa has done some impressive experiments with baked pasta dishes and has found a way to adjust any baked pasta recipe so that your noodles are cooked through without pre-cooking them. When you're preparing baked pasta, your pasta and its sauce are in a hot oven for over half an hour, though the exact timing depends on the dish. When you figure that boiling your pasta takes only about 10 minutes or so, it seems like the baking time should be used for cooking the pasta too, no? The problem is moisture. Ovens are dry heat and pasta is already dry, so you need to supply enough moisture to rehydrate your pasta. This is where things get a bit dicey, and where you can end up with saucy, crunchy pasta if you don't pre-cook your noodles, which is a sad fate of affairs. So what does Ragusa do? It's a genius move in its simplicity. He follows the original recipe to the letter, but then tops the completely prepared pasta dish with a pinch of salt and enough water to cover it completely. The water supplies the additional hydration, and the salt is there to supply the extra dash you'd get from cooking your pasta in salted boiling water. The dish cooks just the same, though Ragusa suggests you give it a few more minutes of cooking time than its water-free counterpart. To support his claims, Ragusa tested his method out on video so that viewers could see how he proceeded. He made 3 identical batches of the same recipe, but he dealt with the ziti in 3 different ways. One set he boiled per directions, one set he did not cook at all and added straight to the recipe, and the third was the pasta that got the layer of water over the top. What did Ragusa conclude from these experiments? The first set was very good, the second set too hard, and the third was, drumroll, just right. Ragusa noted that this method will result in more heavily flavored noodles, but other than that, it's mostly indistinguishable from the regular way of making it. Ragusa is pretty convincing, and even takes a stab at figuring out why so many recipes still insist on parboiling.
My best guess is that it's a habit that was left over from the days when all pasta was fresh.
Makes sense, right? Still, if you're not sold, there is another approach you can take too, which Sarah Moulton endorses. She soaks the pasta in warm salted water for 45 minutes before adding it to its sauce and popping it in the oven. But Ragusa's insights don't stop there. Empowered by this discovery, Ragusa whittled down the bowls, pots, and steps even further. He showed us how to make a fridge clean-out baked pasta in one pot by using whatever he found in his fridge. First, he added shallots and leftover greens. Then he added crushed tomatoes, thin sliced meat, cheese, seasonings, and as much pasta as he could fit into the dish. Lastly, he employed the water trick, accented with wine. After baking it for an hour and adding more mozzarella on top, the end result was a delicious, easy way to use some leftover food.
Pasta leaves lots of room for interpretation, but even such a universally loved food has some rules you should never break. Straightforward as it may seem, cooking pasta isn't just a matter of boiling noodles in water. In fact, there are a lot of factors that can affect taste, texture, and overall dining pleasure. Yet, of the many rules to abide by, there's one faux pas that you should avoid at all costs, and that's breaking the noodles. For many, tradition and even superstition cause pasta cooks to leave their lengthy strands intact. However, the reality is that breaking long pasta strands kind of defeats the purpose of the longer noodles in general, which are supposed to be wrapped around a fork. When left in their original form, any number of long pasta, from bucatini to linguine to maffaldini, can easily be wrapped into a flavorful bite. It's precisely their length that allows the saucy noodles to perfectly cling onto a fork in a tight and mess-free bundle. That said, when these nearly 10-inch strands are broken into shorter noodles, they actually become more difficult to eat, as they can't be twirled efficiently, nor can they be simply stabbed due to their slender shape. Plus, breakage can also be a challenge during plating. When supported by a ladle, longer noodles drape around serving tongs better, which allows for a neater presentation. Since we eat with our eyes first, resisting the urge to break noodles proves just as important from a practical standpoint as it does visually.
Must resist stupidity impulse.
Of course, there are situations where it seems sensible to snap longer pasta into pieces. For example, if you're working with a pot that's too small and noodles that are too long, you might be tempted to break the noodles in half. However, the solution here is simple. You can either invest in a larger or oblong-shaped pot, or wait a few seconds until the wet ends of the noodles have softened and they can be fully submerged. If you're thinking about splitting capellini and bigoli in half to prevent strands from sticking together in the pot, a drizzle of olive oil can minimize clumping, but frequent stirring should also be enough. If, however, breaking pasta is a deliberate choice to make your dining experience more pleasurable, we suggest opting to cook shorter types of pasta. Sturdy penne, spiralized gemelli, curved conchiglie, twisted cavatappi, or cartoonish rotella can all be great substitutes for ribbons of pasta that prove too long. Of course, you could always just practice your fork twirling skills as well. To make the process easier, begin by stabbing a strand or two of pasta with your fork. You can also use a spoon for extra guidance, although this isn't always deemed proper pasta eating etiquette, so it's best to limit spoon use once you've built confidence. After the pasta is secured, simply flick your wrist to help wrap noodles around the tines of a fork, repeating several times until you've twisted the perfect forkful. Unfortunately, no variety of long pasta is immune to breaking. Chances are that, in any given package of pasta, there will probably be at least a couple of broken noodles. However, there's no need to worry about a few stray pieces intermingled with longer strands. Fragments of pasta won't compromise cook time or flavor. The only risk is the pasta's appearance, but it's likely that the odd split strand will nestle into a pasta bundle seamlessly. However, if you have an older box of pasta with lots of broken pieces, you can still put them to good use. Drawing from the traditions of cucina povera that saw nothing go to waste, you can use the snapped pieces in a soup that needs some bulking up. With all this in mind, it's also important to acknowledge that sometimes pasta is actually meant to be broken. ZT, for example, is made in about 9.8-inch strands. Before the noodles started to get sold pre-cut, snapping the pasta into several fragments was actually standard procedure. Once the long strands of ZT were broken into their desired size, they could be used in baked pasta dishes. What can we say? Some rules are meant to be broken.